This is Common Sense Radio. Straightforward and no excuses.
All right. Come on now.
This is the Steve Gruber Show.
Call me crazy.
Oh, yeah.
What I said was perfectly right and spot on accurate.
Boy's got a mouth like a cannon, always shooting it all.
Stop. Yeah, stop. I mean, you're way off script.
Got it in me. Gonna quit until it all comes out.
Hey, boy!
Been a long education.
Yeah, you know, it's not cynical. It's common sense.
Pay attention to me when I'm talking to you.
I'm gonna rock the nation. Rock the nation.
Genuine, accountable, and raw. Here is Steve Gruber.
And welcome to it, my friends. It is Wednesday here, a day of mourning in Michigan for Dennis Rodman. The Lansing firefighter run over last week, apparently because traffic was too slow. 22-year-old man in a pickup truck turned around and drove over him intentionally while he was out there collecting money for the Muscular Dystrophy Association, Fill the Boot Drive. Well, at the Breslin Center at Michigan State University today, there will be a funeral for Mr. Rodman. Thousands expected to turn out. Grant Taylor charged with open murder, failing to stop at the scene of a personal injury accident causing death, and 2 counts of fleeing and eluding related to Rodman's death. Lansing Mayor Virg Bernero wrote this: on behalf of the Lansing Fire Department and the city of Lansing, it is with a heavy heart that I announce the passing of firefighter Dennis Rodman, a 7-year veteran of the LFD, who was struck and killed by a hit-and-run driver in a senseless, unthinkable tragedy that has left all of us in a state of shock, and that's still true today. He is also a Marine Corps veteran of the war in Iraq. Firefighters from New York City, Chicago, Indianapolis, and around the country expected. Also firefighters from Canada as well. No one's quite sure how many are going to turn out for the funeral of Dennis Rodman. A hero twice over. A man who was collecting money for charity when he was senselessly run over. Raising the question of mental health again in this country. All right, well, also tonight is the second big debate for the Republicans. They'll be at the Ronald Reagan Library in California. 11 folks on the stage this time because Carly Fiorina has made the stage. Rand Paul and Chris Christie just hanging on to the edges, but apparently they're going to make it. Yeah, it's interesting. You know, 4 years ago, Chris Christie was thought to be jumping into the race and may have had a better chance back then than he does now. No, seriously, he might have had a better chance then than he does now at making a good run. So he's, we'll see. But the big get-together, and everybody will be watching. Donald Trump still drawing thousands in Texas earlier this week. Yesterday in California, hundreds turned out for his address on veterans and the military. He said, peace through strength. Nobody's going to mess with us. We have to have the military strong enough that nobody's going to mess with us. You know, fair enough. But Al-Qaeda apparently not getting the message. Al-Qaeda's leader, Ayman al-Zawahiri, calling for jihadists to launch more attacks in the United States. I want you to listen to this, because Al-Qaeda not getting the message when it comes to attacking America.
Al-Qaeda's elusive leader making a dramatic new threat. Ayman al-Zawahiri, who has a $25 million U.S. bounty on his head, encourages young jihadists to carry out lone wolf attacks inside America. It comes in the second part of an audio message.
I call on each Muslim who can harm the countries of the Crusader coalition not to hesitate. I see we must now focus on moving the war to the heart of the homes and cities of the Crusader West, and mainly America.
Despite al-Qaeda's history of well-planned, spectacular attacks like 9/11, Zawahiri now says aspiring terrorists should emulate the actions of Boston Marathon bombers Tamerlan and Jahar Tsarnaev and the Kouachi brothers who attacked Charlie Hebdo. He calls them, quote, the brave knights of the Paris invasion. Analysts say this is part of al-Qaeda's strategy in recent years, isolated attacks that are harder to stop.
And the fact that he's throwing his weight behind this now at this time suggests that he basically sees this as something that's more important to al-Qaeda than it has been in the past.
A U.S. official tells CNN the message indicates a somewhat removed leader trying to stay relevant. In the new message, Zawahiri even extends an olive branch to ISIS, despite calling its leader Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi's caliphate illegitimate. Zawahiri now calls on all jihadists in Iraq and Syria to fight together in the face of a common enemy.
All this has to be understood in terms of the competition that's happening globally now between al-Qaeda and ISIS for recruits. Ayman al-Zawahiri is trying to restore al-Qaeda to relevance, trying to restore himself to relevance. He hasn't been heard from for many months.
Zawahiri's call comes at a time of high tension. Law enforcement sources tell CNN the FBI has been monitoring widespread calls on social media and chatter by suspected jihadist supporters for attacks against Pope Francis's visit to the U.S. next week. These are similar to threats seen before the July 4th holiday. While there's significant concern, sources say there's no specific threat against the papal visit. Still, Zawahiri's call, analysts say, should make Americans more concerned.
We have no way of stopping individuals who have access here in America to powerful military-level firearms, of simply hearing a message from Zawahiri or somebody else, and they may be deranged or unbalanced otherwise, going out and suddenly killing people. It is very, very difficult to stop that.
So as you hear about the al-Qaeda coming in, and I thought it was a different tape there, but so it is. The bottom line is this. Donald Trump laying it out yesterday that it's peace through strength. It sounds a lot like Ronald Reagan. And to me, you know, you may not like him at this point, but he seems to be hitting all of the bells and raising all of the flags in the proper sequence to get everybody's attention. Yeah, to get everybody's attention, and he seems to be doing that now, way up in the polls. North of 30%, north of 40% in some polls. So the big debate tonight, the question is, will Donald Trump come out and continue to keep up the attacks on everybody around him? Or will he take a different tack? You know, why change your approach, I guess? If you're winning and it's working, why change? If you're winning and it's working, why change? And right now, Donald Trump is also beating Hillary Clinton in national polls in head-to-head matchups. So why would you change a thing? And the answer is you probably wouldn't. So look for Donald Trump to be Donald tonight. Look for Ben Carson to try to sharpen his message. And look for some of those on the edge of falling off, like Rand Paul and Chris Christie, Jeb Bush, and trying to make some big statements tonight. They need to get some traction back. Scott Walker in need of a jump start more than anybody else. Scott Walker barely hanging on. Wednesday on the Steve Gruber Show. We'll be right back.
Keeping you in touch with Michigan and the world.
Welcome back to the program. It's Wednesday here on the Steve Gruber Show. And you can join the hotline conversation, 888-900-9966, 888-900-9966. Our next guest, MD Kittle from Watchdog.org, will be watching the debates tonight for sure. You know, we already had the folks here from Win, Ben, Win, the grassroots effort. You know, the guy that has paid the highest price, though, potentially, for the rise of Donald Trump has been Wisconsin Governor Scott Walker. I mean, Walker was in first place in a lot of polls 6 or 8 weeks ago. Some places now showing him with 2% support. 2%. MD Kittle here from Watchdog.org. MD, welcome back to the program.
Well, thanks for having me again. I appreciate it. And yes, I'll be tuned in to the biggest reality show in town coming up tonight.
Yeah, with the biggest reality show star leading the charge, Donald Trump, of course. And make no mistake, he had 20,000 plus in Texas a couple of days ago. He had a great turnout on the USS Iowa yesterday in California. His message that illegal aliens get better treatment and better benefits than veterans resonating with Americans. His message of controlling the border resonating. Strong military resonating. Scott Walker no longer resonating. What happened?
Well, a couple of things. I think 2012 happened first and foremost. Donald Trump, obviously, is the big thing. There's no doubting that. The polling is consistent. But I think Mitt Romney has a lot to do with Donald Trump today. And I think Mitt Romney has a lot to do with Ben Carson and anybody else who is not seen as an establishment candidate and anybody who is seen as someone who is an insider, someone who's been there forever, a career politician, if you will. They're taking a beating because core conservatives felt like they got sold a bad bill of goods back in 2012. And they're not listening to the establishment, which told them back then, go along to get along. We've got to rally behind Mitt.
The point is, nobody rallied behind Mitt. Oh, hold on now. In fairness, John McCain got more votes than Mitt Romney, which makes no sense whatsoever. Not today, not then, not ever will that make sense to me. Mitt Romney was an infinitely better candidate than John McCain. Infinitely better.
But that's the thing, is that core conservatives, the people who are really turning out for these events, the people who are being polled, at a greater level, the people who are more active, more interested, more engaged, didn't care for Mitt Romney. They didn't care for the establishment type. And so some of this, not all of this, but some of this definitely is a rejection of that. And beyond that, you asked about, folks like Scott Walker. Scott Walker kind of got away from being Scott Walker. He got caught up in the campaign. This, at a national level, this is new for Walker. It's nothing new for him in terms of running. He's had to run 3 times in 4 years. He's an old pro at that, given Wisconsin's recall climate.
Sure. Yeah,
but
very much so.
That said, I mean, he started saying, it sounded like anyway, he started saying anything and everything to try to grab votes. And I think that really stuck with people.
And when you say anything and everything to grab votes, an example, what do you mean? I mean, I saw him in person. I thought he was very good. That was back, maybe in June, I suppose, beginning of the summer. He was in our neck of the woods, and my wife and I went and saw him, and she really liked him as well. Thought he was very good and personable, and did the retail politics thing, I thought, pretty well. But apparently, somewhere the disconnect has happened, but I don't know what you mean by say anything and everything. Give me an example.
I think Walker has a very powerful message to sell, and I think he's built a very strong conservative resume. I mean, take a look at his record. He's one of the strongest conservatives in this race. Certainly much stronger than Donald Trump, who really is a closet Democrat. I wish people would start to see that, but that's neither here nor there for the reality of the situation. But Walker started...
Now, hold on. Stop right there, because in fairness, and I get what watchdog.org is, and I get the fact, Ronald Reagan wouldn't pass muster with you guys today. That's a fact. I mean, the man signed gun control legislation. And we've got to get past this notion of the perfect candidate. I mean, you have to have a candidate on balance, but, watchdog.org, and talking to some yesterday with you guys and today, you have these litmus tests and these bars set so high that who can pass? Ted Cruz, who's unelectable?
Well, first and foremost, I'm speaking as a conservative. I'm not speaking for Watchdog. I'm speaking for what I see and what I see here in Wisconsin and what I see nationally. The litmus test is you can't have a lifelong record, though, if you are devoted to conservative politics and reform of big government. You can't have a lifelong record of embracing big government politics. Donald Trump's the same guy that had the message about nationalized health care for years, the same message about higher tax rates. He still hasn't really backed off from that. he has been a backer and supporter of the Clintons. I mean, all of these things are very, very clear. His record is established, and now suddenly he's the conservative darling. But that's what he is right now. I don't know if that holds, but I can tell you about candidates like Scott Walker slipping in the polls. I think Donald Trump has taken a lot of the oxygen out of the room, basically. They're not getting the kind of coverage, and then they're looking somewhat desperate to try to get any message out there at all, and in doing that, they come off looking desperate, of course, and that doesn't appeal to voters.
Which they are. But let me ask you this, MD, before I have to run this morning. If Donald Trump is your nominee for the Republican Party, are you going to vote for him or not?
I don't have to be bound by a pledge as Donald Trump has. We'll see. This is America. You can vote for anybody you want to.
Fair enough. MD Kittle from watchdog.org, always a pleasure.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it.
There you have it. We'll be back in just a moment right here on the Steve Gruber Show.
Delivering Michigan common sense with a big dose of truth and honesty.
All righty then. Send in the hair. I mean, send in Donald Trump. It's real. Think of the investment in hairspray alone. Think about the if we were invested in hairspray companies right now, you could be making some coin around here. At any rate, Simi Valley, California tonight, the second big debate for the Republicans. The four on the undercard, I don't even think anybody can name them. Steve Austin, Herman Munster, I don't know who they are. George Pataki, right? He was governor of New York once. Anyhow. But obviously the whole nation will be watching because Donald Trump has risen to the top, and Donald Trump continues to pull in thousands, and Scott Walker is failing and fading fast, as is Chris Christie, as is Senator Rand Paul, all down in like 1% and 2% now. These are guys that are thought to make a splash, but they're just not getting there. And Scott Walker, the biggest surprise. But I think tonight all eyes will be back on Donald Trump and how he approaches it. And maybe the biggest exchange will be between Carly Fiorina and Donald Trump because of the disparaging remarks he made about Carly Fiorina. I mean, look at that face. Could you vote for that? In a Rolling Stone magazine. The problem is it was in Rolling Stone, so the credibility is always in question when Rolling Stone publishes anything based on their extremely checkered and poor behavior journalistically over the past couple of years. Rolling Stone has no credibility. But all eyes will be out there to see what happens, and I guess we'll see if Jeb Bush can get a couple of punches in to get his name back at the top of the page. We'll see if Scott Walker can rescue his floundering campaign. We'll see if Ben Carson's smooth, straight talk can keep him near the top. We'll see if Donald Trump changes his direction tonight or if he'll stay to the course he's on. Of course, there in the middle you got Ted Cruz, Marco Rubio, John Kasich. We'll see if they do anything to get the spotlight turned to them. I think before the next couple of weeks passes, though, you're going to see some other folks drop out. I mean, first of all, Lindsey Graham and Pataki and Santorum and whoever else is on the undercard, those guys should just call it a day. I mean, collectively, they couldn't raise 50 cents for their campaigns between them all, so you might as well move on. Now, in the UK, there has been an election for the new leader of Labour, and here's a guy who is akin to Bernie Sanders, I think, Jeremy Corbyn. He's a hardcore leftist. He's been a needle in the side of Labour for years and years, and either it's the death knell for Labour or it's a warning for all of us in Western nations. Here to sort that out just a little bit further, Melissa Proffitt, our veteran journalist and good friend here on the program. Melissa, welcome to the show.
Good morning.
So this guy, Jeremy Corbyn, I understand, didn't even sing the national anthem during the first session of the House of Commons after he has secured the leadership of labor. I mean, this guy's not winning. First of all, he's not made a lot of friends along the way for years. And I don't think he's doing anything to change his appearance or his reputation at this point either.
No, and he's certainly very vocal about standing up and saying, I've had enough. I've gotten where I've gotten because I'm good at what I do. I don't have to speak to the media, and therefore you guys just need to back off.
Yeah. He did say, leave my family alone. And I'm okay with that, I suppose. And what do you make of that?
I think everybody should say it. It's just unfortunate it's not going to happen. The way news is, everybody's just struggling to get the story. And if you're not going to get the story from the source, if he's not willing to share information or facts that the reporters are asking him, well, then, yeah, it's our duty, it's our job to go to the next person to get that information. And more than likely, the next person is a family member or a very close friend. So it's unfortunate, but I think that when you have someone who gets into politics like that, you just have to sit everybody down and say, okay, get ready, the roller coaster's about to happen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't disagree with that. So here's the thing for me, and I look at Corbyn, and in a lot of ways, he does parallel Bernie Sanders as far as being extreme hardcore leftist, Marxist, really. I mean, Bernie Sanders is an avowed socialist, but really he's more of a Marxist than anything. And then you look at Corbyn, who, he wants more welfare, more social programs, get rid of borders and so forth. So here's the thing. Either it's the end of labor as we know it, as far as that party goes, because they've become obsolete, or it's a real warning for the rest of us in Western society, saying, because if the likes of Bernie Sanders come along, let's be honest, this is not who we've been for a country for 250 years. It would change everything.
Right.
So where do we go from here, I guess, is my question. Is he a serious politician, or is he just going to be a guy who is marginalized, I guess? In my opinion, I think he's a serious politician. I think that he's got a plan, and he's not just going to sit down in the passenger seat and take the ride. He's definitely stepping up and obviously believes in what he's fighting for, and there's a large group that stand behind him. And, I just think anything can happen. I mean, look, we've got Trump going to the debate tonight. Anything can happen. Yeah, well, you got that right. Anything can happen. I guess about 100 members of the members of Parliament, Labour MPs, preparing to defy Corbyn early by publicly campaigning for Britain to stay in the EU, with or without the new leader's support, because he's very much against the EU as well. He's against that whole relationship. So I guess we'll see what happens. Anything can happen. He is a guy who is probably more entertaining than Donald Trump, because he will just say just about anything at any time. And I guess will you be watching the debates tonight? Speaking of that, in Simi Valley from the Reagan Library.
Absolutely. Who can afford to miss it? Even if you are a hardcore Democrat, liberal all the way, I think that you're going to watch it just for the laughs.
Do you think, let me ask you something, the Democrats haven't scheduled a debate until the middle of October, right? And they're only going to have 6. The last time around they had something like 18. They had a pile of them. Do you think it hurts the Democrats, which, it gives the appearance to even Democrats that they seem to be hiding a little bit, that they don't want to come out and, and have their debates and have a lot of them and have a robust discussion? Do you think, waiting so long and only having a handful hurts them a little bit?
That's a hard question to answer. I think it's certainly it's certainly done with a purpose. I think that Hillary probably has had a lot to say about how many of those she's going to participate in, and which ones that they needed to dump along the way if they were planning as many as they have in the past. I think that they're a little wary of their candidates, in my opinion, and they are not as willing to put them out there as often as I think the world thinks they should. And so I guess the answer is yes, Steve. I do think that is going to hurt them in the end, because here I am sitting here thinking, they do have something that they're not wanting to share, or they're being very careful about not getting out. So I already have a negative opinion about it.
Well, there you go. And see, and I think, we can sit here and, make comments about Donald Trump and the things he does, but at least he's out there talking in front of people, and that's the point. Melissa Proffitt, always a pleasure, my friend.
Have a good one.
There you have it. Melissa Proffitt, everybody, veteran news reporter, just kind of the sounding board from time to time. We'll be right back on the Steve Gruber Show.
Covering Michigan and the world from his bunker below the bridge. Here is Steve Gruber.
All righty, welcome to it, my friends. Steve Gruber with you here on a Wednesday. And if you want to get your motor running and ride along with Michigan by motorcycle, well, you can do that. Clark Hughes joining us, the Flint Journal managing producer. Clark, welcome to the program.
Well, glad to join you this morning.
So, you a bit of a motorhead or what?
Yeah. I am a motorhead. I love motorcycles. Love working on them. Love riding them.
So you're a gear monkey or whatever, So what do you have? What do you ride?
Right now I'm riding a 2007 Harley Ultra. I bought it a crashed bike last winter and fixed it up, and it runs just fine.
So you did a little rehab job over the winter on the bike and put it back on the road.
Yes, I did. Yeah, what are you going to do in the wintertime in Michigan, right?
That's pretty cool. No, I like that idea. So you put it back together. Hopefully the guy that put it on its side is all right, but hopefully it's a nice bike, and that's a pretty cool story. So tell me about this riding along with Michigan by motorcycle. What's going on?
Well, this summer I went out on a long trip out west with a couple of friends. We went 6,000 miles, went out to the Grand Canyon, Colorado, and Sturgis, and I was Facebooking all the way, and a lot of people were reading those Facebook posts, including my bosses. And when I got back about a week later, they said, "Hey, you want to do that in Michigan?" And I said, "Well, let me think. Yes."
Yeah. What a great idea. Yeah. So you get to cruise on your bad motor scooter all over the state and tell stories. Is that it?
Yeah. I'm going to be posting some stories, probably a story on M Live every morning, and putting out some tweets during the day, and probably a Facebook post or two during the day. And it should be appearing on all the M Live sites around the state, from Saginaw to Grand Rapids, Ann Arbor, Flint. And I really have no directions. I'm not told you must do this. Let's just send you out on the road and see what you find out. Part of what I was doing this summer was not writing about, actually riding the motorcycle, but things that would happen along the way. And you run into the most amazing people and situations when you're just out there traveling.
I was going to say, it's not about the ride, it's about the people you meet along the way, and I know that to be true in my travels. And I've been to Sturgis a couple of times, and that's a crazy place to begin with. The stories out of Sturgis and Deadwood by themselves could probably fill half a novel.
It could, but, some of the stuff I ran into outside of Sturgis, just on the road, it was it just makes me laugh, makes me smile just thinking about the people we met and the total strangers that go out of their way to help you out. And I've traveled across the country a lot on the motorcycle, mostly out west, and I find that to be the case every time, everywhere I go. People are just wonderful.
Yeah, and so okay. So how long are you going to be on the road in Michigan? Obviously, the clock is running. The leaves are starting to turn in the UP. You're on the clock here. How much time we got here before the snow comes and it's all over?
Right. Well, this is going to be for a week. I'm going to leave next Monday, the 21st, and go through until through the next Sunday. Can't remember what day that is. So it'll be a week on the road. We'll see what happens. I don't know if we'll do it again. We'll see if we get.
Hold on, you cupped your phone a little funny there. There you go. You cupped your phone a little funny there for a second.
Oh, I'm
sorry. Couldn't hear you very well. Yeah, go ahead. So you're going to be out there for the next few weeks anyhow.
Yeah, we'll be out there for a week. I'm going with a friend, and we'll just see how it goes. I'll come back in a week, and we'll see if we got much interest or if people weren't interested in that kind of thing. It's kind of an experiment.
I'm interested. Yeah. So okay. Where's the Facebook page? Where's the Flint Journal page? Where can we find all of this?
All right, you can go to any MLive site. I believe it'll be posting statewide. So any of your local MLive sites like Grand Rapids and Lansing and Jackson, etc. Specifically, you can go to the Flint Journal, like the Flint Journal, like the Grand Rapids Press, whatever your preferred site is. You can follow me on Facebook.
Heck, we'll put you right up here. They can go to the Steve Gruber Show Facebook page. Like that, find you, we'll ride on.
There you go.
Yeah.
Okay.
There you go.
And, you can follow me on Twitter. It's just Clark Hughes. Follow me on Facebook. Follow it on Flint Journal Facebook. It should be pretty easy to find.
So you're riding solo, or are you going to have a couple of wingmen?
I'm going to have a friend, my longtime friend, Brian Grachek. We ride together all the time.
That guy?
What's that?
That guy. That guy's going with you.
He's going with me.
I said, that guy? I'm just kidding you there. I'm just having fun with you there, Clark. So a couple of usual suspects are going to be rolling out across Michigan. And what's he riding, a Harley as well?
He's riding, I don't know what it is, 1987 Road King, I think it is. He's customized it a lot, done a lot of work on it. So if you look at it, you probably wouldn't know what you're looking at. And it is, he enjoys having the fastest bike on the road. My pockets aren't that deep, so.
Well, I understand. But a couple of road dogs rolling across Michigan for some stories. I like it.
Absolutely.
Clark, great story. Check in with me when you get back, and love to talk to you more about it.
All right. I'd love to do it.
There you have it, everybody. Clark Hughes from the Flint Journal, the managing producer, rolling out across Michigan on a couple of big bad Harleys for the next for the fall for a little bit. Check it out on Facebook and the Flint Journal. We'll be right back on the Steve Gruber Show.
Keeping you in touch with Michigan and the world.
All right, welcome back. Real quickly, Tom is on the hotline, the Common Sense hotline at 888-900-9966. Tom in Eaton Rapids, welcome to the program.
Thanks, Steve. And you've got a great program this morning. I've listened to it almost from the start. And before I comment on the debates, I wanted to tell you that I think you're, as you would say, spot on about the mental health system and the destruction that we've had. And I'm surprised no one has talked about it in the last few years.
No,
related to all the problems we've had.
Yeah, ACLU destroyed that beginning in the 1950s in California when they started suing the mental hospitals and so forth. But anyhow, go on.
Right. Well, anyway, with the debate, it really isn't a debate. It's a show, and the press talks about the candidates harping on each other and biting each other in the back. But that's what they bring on, and they're going to have a show that's going to do exactly the same thing. They talk to each other. The candidates talk to each other instead of talking to the people. And I think you should host a show and moderate it. And
I think that'd be great fun. And I think I would do a fine job at it. Patting myself in the back, maybe, but I think we would have a fine time doing that. I know that we've had half a dozen of the candidates here. We've had Carly and Scott Walker, and we've had John Kasich and Marco Rubio and others. And we'll be in Mackinac on Friday and through the weekend, by the way, talking to some of these candidates at the Republican Leadership Conference. So I look forward to that and sharing those stories with you, Tom. So look forward to those. Will be next week, of course. We share some of that, of the interviews we have up in the Leadership Conference on Mackinac Island. And now Scott Walker has decided to come back. So that's, he was not going to come because his numbers are in the toilet, but he's coming back anyway. So, Tom, I appreciate the phone call.
All right. You bet, Steve. Thanks.
There you have it. All right. It is Wednesday. Tomorrow, a special program as well as we talk about closed head injuries and no-fault insurance. We'll be with CPAN tomorrow, the Committee to Protect Auto No-Fault in Michigan. We'll talk about what they've got going on. And then on Friday, from Mackinac Island, a special edition of the Steve Gruber Show, live from the Republican Leadership Conference. Don't miss it. It's all coming up this week on the Steve Gruber Show.